He is a national board certified teacher and taught physical education for 10 years. He continues his role as an educator at SUNY Cortland. Most recently, Nick became the active schools manager, where he supports comprehensive physical activity. He continues to work closely with Open as both a national trainer and member of the development team. Nick also started Be the Hype to share his passion and enthusiasm with others. Please welcome Nick Kline.
Thank you so much for that great introduction. Yeah, usually my introduction is hi, I'm Nick. So thank you for going through that full thing.
Sure.
Let's jump on into it. Before we get started, I'm going to drop a message into the chat box, which has a link to the presentation. A lot of the graphics and icons and things within this session have links to where you can find more information online. So that's why I wanted to make sure I shared a link where you can get back in and find some things that jump out to you. So I wanted to start with a quote, since the message will be kind of themed around being a champion, and that will come into play towards the end of the session. So I wanted to start in the beginning with this quote from one of my guys, Michael Jordan. Champions don't become champions when they win an event, but in the hours. Let me start that again, since the phone here at my desk never rings and randomly it was ringing. So champions don't become champions when they win an event, but in the hours, weeks, months, and years they spend preparing for it. So my message today will be that to be a champion within our buildings, within our schools, within our districts, it's not something that happens overnight, but things that take time to build to that, just like winning a NBA basketball championship or something along those lines. So here's what we have on the docket today. We're going to start off talking about what an active school is, and then about active schools, meaning the national initiative. I'll spend some time talking about the next steps, or next phase, what we're affectionately calling Active Schools 2.0. And then, as I mentioned, the end, we'll wrap it all up and encouraging you to become the champion. And then finally, we'll save some time for questions and discussions. So this is not something that comes as a surprise. I'm sure you have all seen this comprehensive school physical activity model before, and the 5 components that encompass it. So obviously the foundation there being quality physical education, and then of course the other forms of physical activity, including the physical activity during the school day. So that can be the classroom, that can be during recess, or any other time during those school hours. Maximizing the time of physical activity before and after school. So whether that's clubs or intramurals or just opportunities for kids to move before the academic subject begins. And then staff involvement, being the role models, obviously, and practicing what we preach. And then finally, that community engagement piece. Also not a surprise to most of us, but I felt the need to just include this just so that we're all on the same page. The CDC recommends that all kids get at least 1 hour of MVPA, that moderate to vigorous physical activity, every single day. And unfortunately, this is the state that we live in. So within that, only 6, within our country, only 6 states require physical education for every grade. Only 20% of districts require recess. So 1 out of 5 districts actually require recess. And we know that kids are not getting the 60 minutes of MVPA that the CDC recommends. One of the reasons possibly is this, if you've seen this come out. So this is the self-report of adult physical inactivity. So if we as adults are not being active, we're not being the role models or the champions or encouraging the movement in children. So if you didn't see this, this was where respondents were classified as being inactive if they replied that they did not get any movement in the last month other than what their job required. So you see there are pretty shocking examples of let me clear that off again, shocking examples of the lack of inactivity that we are seeing nationwide. Yesterday, I don't know if I just wanted to throw this link in. So if you click on this picture right there brings you to this article, which just came out in the New York Daily News yesterday. And the title of the article is "New York, Let Our Children Play." And the message within this was that children essentially who are provided more physical activity as a youth are 5 times more likely to be active as an adult. It goes on to say that the cost of healthcare due to chronic diseases costs our country $3.7 trillion a year. So if we're worried about paying a few $1,000s or $1 million or whatever that dollar amount is to increase access to physical activity, to hire more physical education teachers and whatnot, that number is going to pale in comparison to the amount that we spend due to the effects of being inactive and not being the healthiest versions of ourselves that we possibly can be. So the last paragraph here, I'll read to you. It says, "We're currently losing the war on chronic disease, and schools can be the front lines to change that trajectory. To win a war, as Winston Churchill famously said, sometimes you have to give them what they want. It may be the only way to give our children what they need." So to kind of change the state that we're in order to become healthier long term, we might need to look at the current approach we take, and schools obviously being the best place that can provide the 60 minutes of recommended MVPA. This also doesn't come as a surprise, but feel the need to say it as many times as I can, and also provide you with the link to that springboard where I got some of these stats from, so that you can share them. So if you are the champion within your realm, you can take and share some of these. So what I like to say is we could pretty much like make up anything in the world that we wanted to, and then find somebody who has done research to support it. So are kids more focused, and do they concentrate better? Yeah, check. Is there less disruption? Are there less referrals or less behavior issues? Yes, check. Are kids more motivated? Do they attend? Is their attendance improved? Yes, check and check. And does it actually benefit academics? Do test scores improve? Of course, yes. All due to providing students with more physical activity. So that set the stage. So then what I'm coming to you today as is the Active School Manager, which is a national initiative really to support comprehensive physical activity, what we call active schools. The CSPAP, or the Comprehensive Physical Activity Model, what we feel is that kind of loses some understanding as it gets down to the practitioner level, the teacher level. That's mainly folks for the higher education, or maybe folks that are part of a conference that fully understand like what that means. So we want to call, what we do is creating an active school environment. So if you've not heard of active schools, our vision is that all youth are educated in an active school to enhance learning, health, and well-being. Our mission is to make sure that we integrate evidence-based physical activity programs into every school, from preschool through middle school and high school. And the goal, therefore, would be to establish the standard by which an army of champions implement active school policies, practices, and programs throughout the country, so that youth can receive physical, social, emotional, and academic benefits of physical activity, some of which I just mentioned on the previous slide. So our values, the values of active schools, first of all, is to be child-centered. So that's to position child health and well-being at the center of active school environments, so that we are making decisions similar to that article that I mentioned. So we're making decisions based on what's the best for students, not what's best for what fits within the school day, or what fits within the previous practice or habits or routines that we did 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. In terms of leadership, to provide national leadership that builds trusting relationships, And that's trusting relationships at all levels within the school, not just within the teachers, but within the families and the administration. In terms of change, to create demand to be the catalyst for that change. And to empower individuals to serve as active schools champions, so that anyone and everyone can take that role on and build the army to be that role that the champions need. So it doesn't have to be the physical education teacher, which I think previously we put a lot of emphasis on, was the physical education teacher should be the champion within the school. And our feeling now is it can be anyone. Of course, the PE teacher can be part of that team, but doesn't have to necessarily be that point person or that lead person. And accountability, to compel accountability for evidence-based practice that result in positive outcomes for youth. And I'll talk more about what we're going to do in the next phase there when I move into the Active Schools 2.0. So the target audience, I alluded to this just previously. We want a full team that kind of embraces the Active Schools approach. So this is the actual program providers. So this can be anything from the businesses, their schools, the partnerships that they have, as well as, of course, the educational influencers. So this is the parents and the families, the administrators, school board, if you have local university or colleges in the town that you have relationships with, that the teacher preparation programs or any volunteers within the building are all part of that network. And then the Active Schools implementers. So these are the people, the boots on the ground, the PE teachers, the classroom teachers, the recess staff, the aides, the TAs, and everyone who are actually have the most direct contact with students on a daily basis. So that's a very brief overview kind of about the umbrella of Active Schools. What I also wanted to do is share with you about some of the campaigns that we currently have throughout the year. Because I know a lot of times you have not taken part of them, or maybe you've taken part in one or two of them. So I wanted to share some of what you can look forward to in the coming months. Actually, one's taking place right now. So first is Active Classrooms Month, and that is every February. So every February throughout the month, we promote active classrooms. And in the spirit of practicing what we preach, what I wanted to do was to provide us an opportunity to have this classroom energizer or brain boost. Some people call it brain breaks, or whatever it is that you call it. Let's get up and move here, since we're about a quarter of the way through the session. And this is one from this last February's Classroom Energizer series. It's called Energize 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So when I say go, we're going to do the 5 exercises. We'll do 5 half jacks, 4 trunk twists, 3 raise the roofs, 2 elbow knee touches, and then 1 clap to end it off at the very end. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Half jacks are just arms only. 3, 4, 5, right into trunk twist. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 raise the roofs. 1, 2, 3, and then 2 elbow knee touches, 1 and 2, and end it with a clap. Shake it off and find your seat, ready to go. Thank you for indulging me and participating in that. There are 4 weeks of these classroom energizers, so 20 energizers in total that you can find through the Active Classrooms website link. We also provided a variety of free resources. We have about 90 supporting organizations in all. So these are just a few of the supporting organizations that we have that have free resources very specifically tied to active classrooms. So if you have any connections with classroom teachers, or you yourself find yourself in a scenario where you don't have your gymnasium or outdoor space or whatnot, These resources are everything from elementary to high school. A lot of these resources have high school brain boosts or brain breaks or classroom energizers, which I know are sometimes hard to find. We're currently in the midst of Play All May. So if you have not had a chance to sign up for Play All May, and you're not on Twitter, chances are you have not seen some of the physical activities that have come out. Oop, so that one didn't link. So I'm gonna fix that before I give you this link and get to and show you what. So if we come to Play All May, that graphic definitely should have linked. So you can come here and sign up for Play All May, and then each week prior to, so the weekend leading up to the week, you'll get this activity calendar. So this is where we are right now. If we were to download that, we'll see that, let's see, today is National School Nurse Day, which, you know, we say is a time to honor those that support our students' well-being. We know how busy they are, but if you're doing anything in your school that you can invite your nurse in to just give them that fun energizer break or recognition, that's your opportunity to play, and also invite them to play with you. So then you see each day for the next few days, there's something else to encourage you to you and your students and or families can do. So what we didn't do within this campaign was we did not create anything new. This is just really like shedding light on all of the things that are available throughout the month of May that it encourages more movement or opportunities to be physically active or play. So next week, there's another part of this that Shape America is partnering with Active Schools on, and that is Employee Wellness Week. So that'll be one physical challenge and one emotional challenge that you can get in and kind of participate in and earn points towards. So be on the lookout for that. And I'm going to really quick, as I promised, come here, provide that link like I should have before, and now we're good. So let's get back into the slideshow. The first week of October each year is Family PE Week. This is formally known as Take Your Parents to PE Week. Give me a wave if you have your video on, if you have done this before. Anyone participate and take your. So what we encourage, and this is a partnership between Active Schools and Open, which is one of the other strategic partners. What we encourage is if you can make it work during this week, great, but this event can take place at any point in time. So what we want to do is provide you with the tools and resources. Should you have a chance to invite either parents into your school or share physical education for students to take home and participate with their families, that you have what you need to do so. So this can be, again, anything from like a one-day event to a full week event where you kind of share the importance of physical education and help parents recognize that PE might not be what they experience. And I can give you a quick example of that. So I teach a course here at the college. So as I mentioned in the brief introduction, I teach a course at SUNY Cortland. It's called Physical Activities for Children. It is in the physical education department, but it is a required course for classroom, special education, and early childhood majors. So I get little to no physical education majors each semester. And I absolutely love it. I love it, love it, love it. And the reason why I love it is because this group of students come in, juniors and seniors, and they are not your typical PE major, right? The PE major is the one who excelled generally in physical education, who loved physical education, who has a positive perception of PE, and this other group, a majority do not have that same reaction to PE. And I said they're juniors and seniors, so they are not too far removed from school. And a lot of them have experienced a lot of the negative stereotypes that we see on TV, the Goldbergs or whatnot, where so-and-so is told to, climb the rope and all the kids laugh at them. And these students actually like witness this firsthand. So I get the chance to explain to them that that's not what quality physical education is, apologize that they had a chance that they went through that, and then can change their mindset and get them to be the champions for physical activity, and hopefully open their mind to being partners with their future PE teacher, because it's not that person they may have experienced. The other person that I can give an example of is my principal. So my first 3 years at teaching the elementary school, it was a battle to get my principal to accept that what I did was not what he experienced. So he would avoid the gymnasium like the plague. I think he thought I was going to make him come in and attempt to climb the rope in front of all the students, like his PE teacher did, which of course I didn't. And it slowly over time, he saw what I did, and that, yeah, it was part of this well-rounded education, like we know today, part of providing students with the physical literacy to become lifelong movers. So fortunately, there was a positive ending with that. So always a good thing. Okay. SEL has become more central to education because of the demand from educators, parents, tutors, and business leaders, alongside rigorous research showing broad positive impacts from students and adults. So the organization that really led this movement has been CASEL. Should put their graphic over there. If you're not familiar with CASEL, you can get in and learn more about them. But 20 years ago, SEL was just kind of like this thing that people talked about and may not have spent a lot of time or money or effort to implement. And now it's what everyone's talking about. And some rare instances, like Florida or whatnot, like maybe not in such a positive light, but everywhere, at least it's a topic of discussion. And in most cases, it's an emphasis that we feel we need to, we as educators feel we need to focus on. As you know, it's what we've always done in physical education with standards 4 and 5, kind of creating that personal and social responsibility and level of respect and sportsmanship. But now it's school-wide, and everyone kind of putting an emphasis on that. So I bring this up because we hope that in 20 years, active schools has that same connotation to it. So where it's just something that everyone believes in, everyone supports, and everyone is focused on including, similar to like what I talked about first with that article, like kids need to play, they need to be more active, they need to move more, and then maybe the $3.7 trillion that we spend, like 10% of our gross domestic product, like can flip and start to correlate in the opposite direction. So that's where we want to go. How do we get there? We as Active Schools, the national initiative, one way is to find a strategic partner like the Active Schools Institute at the University of Northern Colorado. So Brian Donhauer and his team are helping and working with Active Schools to provide a variety of tools and resources that schools can utilize to create that level of impact that we want to see. So here are a few of the things that have been created or in the works. So first is an evaluation handbook. So this is a step-by-step how-to manual of ways schools can collect data or research on the effectiveness of the physical activity programs that they offer. So if you're interested in downloading that, you can click that graphic right there. The second is this Active Schools Guiding Framework. And this is going to I'll get into in the next slide, but this is going to be a full range of tools and resources that schools can pick and choose from to implement the evidence-based physical activity options for all components of that CSPAP model or the active school model. The implementation guide, so actually delivering and providing physical activity opportunities. And then last is the professional development or providing students with the training in order to deliver some of these resources. So this is the range of services that schools can choose from. So we're not saying that every school needs to be the same. When you want to embrace the active school motto or the approach, we're not saying that everyone needs to be at that peak, right? Like it's going to be a building process. So obviously the foundation there will be choosing some of the resources from the framework, picking maybe one of the evaluation tools from the handbook, using the implementation guide to support your efforts. So that would be the basis, and some schools are already there. Some schools already have high quality physical education. Some schools already have teachers within their school providing brain boosts. They require recess or provide recess to every school every day, every student every day. And then the next layer on top of that, like I mentioned, was professional development. So that's seeking out additional support to improve what you're doing. And then that last piece is really the capacity building. That is kind of taking it to the next level, using additional evaluation tools and really like building upon all of your efforts that you've started previously. So one piece that we felt was important, if we're going to ask schools to incorporate more movement, more physical activity, was to acknowledge or recognize the efforts. So what we plan to do, and this is a work in progress, there's nothing that has been officially created as of yet, but what we plan to do is to assign a point value for the level of which you're including some of those physical activity pieces, or the number of the branches of that CSPAP model that you're addressing, whether or not you're providing evidence-based practice. So finding resources that have been proven to be effective, and then based on the points that you receive, giving badges or certificates to acknowledge that. And then finally, like once you achieve a certain level, a certain number of badges, recognizing that and celebrating that. So providing a banner or something to display at your school, so that others can notice and recognize and celebrate with you. So obviously, this is a totally voluntary process when we get to that point. Schools that are interested, obviously, can at that base level can maybe just know in themselves and be content in that they do provide opportunities to movement, and that's great. You can be an after schools champion and never submit recognition to get the points or to get the badges or to get the acknowledgement, and sometimes that's enough. Others who might want to go above and beyond that, like I said, can choose to do that. Obviously, schools that want to take that next level, in addition to being voluntary, you have to provide some evidence of what you're doing. And then when we get to the national summit, that's where we'll celebrate and acknowledge it on a national level. And I'll tell you more about that summit coming up. But first, we're halfway through, and I wanted to pull one of our other classroom energizers. So this is the rock, paper, scissors foot challenge or full body challenge. Since we can't see our feet, we're going to do the upper half. So if you want to be a rock, you're going to put your hands in front of your face and squeeze your fist like this. If you want to be a paper, you're going to spread your arms out wide like your piece of paper. Try to fit yourself within the screen a little better than I have. And if you're scissors, you're going to cross your arms, make a 2 with your fingers like scissors, and there's our scissors. So we are going to raise the roof 3 times. It would be rock, paper, scissor, and then show your rock, your paper, or your scissors. If you win, if you beat me, so if you're a rock and I'm scissors, you win, you're going to do 5 half jacks to celebrate. If I win, if I am scissors and you're paper, you're going to clap 5 times to celebrate that. And if we tie, if we're both the same thing, you're going to raise the roof 5 times. Are y'all ready? All right, shake it out, get loosened up. Here it goes. Ready, set, rock, paper, scissors, show. Coming in as rock. So I would lose to the paper, beat the scissors, and tie the other rocks. Go ahead, do your celebration. Notice I'm calling it celebration, not penalty or consequence or whatnot. Do your celebration. All right, shake it out. Here we go again. Rock, paper, scissors, show. I'm coming in here with paper. So go ahead, do your celebration. We're going to go one more time. Here it goes. Ready? Rock, paper, scissors, show. I'm coming in with scissors. I'll do a little bit of everything. So that's obviously the easiest way. Everyone does rock, paper, scissors, I think. So if there's one thing you can show your classroom teachers that students already know how to do, it is a variation, one of the million variations of rock, paper, scissors. And by the way, if they don't already do it or haven't already done it, also share with them all of the other ways you can use rock, paper, scissors, like a behavior management tool when students don't agree on something and whatnot. So it's something as quick as asking your principal for 1 minute during the faculty meeting to show something super quick, like a rock, paper, scissors class first teacher challenge. Okay, so there's a virtual summit, August 1st to the 5th. And this is going to be the soft launch of Active Schools 2.0. So that guiding framework that I mentioned is where we're going to walk you through what that means. All of those pieces of that guiding framework, everything kind of that encompasses that. So not just the components of physical activity, but opportunities to make sure that you're supporting the equity, diversity, and inclusiveness of what you're doing is all going to be provided during this virtual summit. So it's going to be 3 sessions a day. Other than the last day, there'll be 2 sessions, which means 14 sessions in total. So we'll have an opening session, the kickoff, and then the grand finale at the very end, which leaves the 12 sessions in the middle. 6 of those will be very specific to that framework and the components of the framework, so that schools that aren't interested in becoming that active school model can learn more about that. And then the other 6 are going to be from some of our strategic partners. So one of the evaluations tool, for example, is the youth activity profile. So walking people through understanding what the youth activity profile is, how to administer it, and whatnot. So you can get on and find more information on our website about the virtual summit, and then obviously register for free. And then looking forward to and saving the date for next summer of 2023, from July 19th to the 21st, we will converge in Greeley, Colorado. So UNC obviously can mean North Carolina, or in this case, Northern Colorado, and we're going to be face-to-face in Northern Colorado at the university. The good news about this, one is Colorado is beautiful in the summer. The second is that the price to attend a conference such as this is going to pale in comparison to the cost of what a lot of conferences cost. And the reason why is we're going to provide participants with the opportunity to stay right on campus. And if sleeping in dorms is not what you're comfortable with, then there are some local hotels, but then again, that's where the cost increases, because suddenly instead of like the $60 a day, the price increases to $150 or $200 a day. A good bang for the buck by coming to the Summer Institute and being a part of the official launch in 2023. If something really piqued your interest and you want to learn more this year, in addition to attending the conference to learn more, you can reach out to me and become one of our pilot schools or districts for the next school year, the 2022-23 school year, so that we have an understanding of how it goes. We can iron out the wrinkles and really be ready for that official launch in July of 23. And now the last piece, this piece about related back to the piece about being a champion that we started with. Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists they become the best they can possibly be. And that is a quote, as you may have heard before, from Rita Pearson. So that's kind of my message today. And the theme behind this presentation is to become a champion. Becoming an active schools champion is a commitment to encouraging physical activity with your time, your talents, and your enthusiasm. We have strength in numbers, so the more champions, the more attention. The more attention, the more action. The more action, the more activity. So you simply just sign up as your self-commitment to being an active schools champion, which means you receive the communications that we send periodically to provide you with the tools and resources to incorporate more of that CSPAT model or that active schools approach within your realm. And why? Why should you become a champion? Obviously, students should be the paramount in what we do. So all decisions and all of our effort should be to make a positive impact on their lives. So that's not just in the short term, providing some of those maybe short-term effects, like we said, how maybe it makes them better focus or get a better score on the test, but also the long-term impacts that we know physical activity has. To be the catalyst for change. So we know that change takes time, it takes effort. So it takes a champion within a school to help be that change, to help build that team, to help be the awareness to the others around you, your colleagues and your families and your students to embrace that. To educate administration. Like I mentioned, the example with my principal, I know he's not the only principal out there that doesn't understand the benefits of movement and quality physical education. So we have to do everything we can to make sure the decision makers understand what it is that we do. And then it's always great to have a little extra funding. So a lot of your efforts to become active school hopefully will lead to funding and grants that are available. And if you're collecting some data on what you're doing, then a lot of times that data can be used to apply for those grants. So always like a good benefit in addition to all those other things that I just mentioned. All right, and that brings us to the question and discussion time. So I'm really interested, I have a desire to better understand where you're at, what either you've taken from this and things that you've pulled, or what you're currently doing that we can learn from, or the questions that you have from what I've said or what you've experienced, so that we can all kind of work together towards where we're headed.
I have a question, Nick.
Go for it.
So do you find that elementary schools are more apt to join in as an active school versus high school? I know we have a lot of high school people on this talk this morning. Or is it kind of even? What are you seeing out there? And how can we better engage our high school friends?
That is an awesome question. I would love to hear from those that are on. I'll give my answer. Elementary, 100%, and not 100%, but vast majority of elementary schools are the ones who embrace the active school approach. I actually went to a session. Jessica Shawley, I can't think of the name of her school, but she is a secondary teacher, and she and her colleagues do it right. They do everything that they can at the secondary level, including providing recess, which I don't think they call recess, obviously because sometimes recess has that elementary feel to it. But the benefits of recess or a break for high school folks have again, like I said, with the research and everything you can make up or pull out of thin air has been proven. And yes, high school students should be provided with the same amount of opportunities of all branches of that active school model. So movements during the classroom, having classroom teachers give students that time to move, all the way to that time where they're not confined or directed by a teacher. So it's a recess where they can just take a break, socialize, hang out. Maybe it's active, maybe it's just like talking to friends or whatnot, but where it's not just the academic rigor of a typical school day.
Thanks.
And high school folk, like anyone on here who provides physical activity outside of the physical education setting, or knows people that do, or has tried or would want to try?
I'm thinking those 90-minute blocks, especially for the health educators. It's so important to include some kind of activity, even if it's just a stand and walk and talk kind of a thing, if you're bringing up a certain content area. But physical education also should have some kind of incorporation of an activity where it's just, maybe it's not connected to what they're doing, or maybe it's just something silly. But definitely I see the benefits. And we think the high school students are too old for this kind of stuff, but they're really just big kids, and
yes,
they want to do everything the little kids are doing because they miss being in elementary school. So
it is interesting too right now, Nick. I'm going through the process of revising our high school, the graduation requirements. And I think all of these things, I think a lot of people are doing many of them. But actually, like, looking at something like this that kind of puts it into a, Joanne was talking in the chat about advocacy and just being able to show like how important all of these things are. And I think that this program kind of helps organize those thoughts and what we're doing.
Nick, in the chat, Sandra says she's seen several teachers go outside with their classes at her high school, and then she gives movement breaks in her health class daily.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And that's part of, like, back to Joanne's message about having a seat at the table. Some principals might see a class going outside and they might go like, you need projectors and smart boards and this and that, and seats and desks and pencils, and really like having the seat at the table to get them to understand that learning can take place in a variety of environments, and going outside is good for students in some instances.
Right, and just the whole brain stimulation piece of being active. When they sit too long in their seats, they go to sleep. So, just that, get them up and moving, and the scientific behind it, the scientific reasons why we have to move, I think is what principals and administrators want to hear. They don't want to just hear that we need to be active because they think it's just fun and games. So.
Nick, Lauren writes, our elementary has an after-school enrichment program, which includes a field hockey class and a girls on the run.
Yeah, so all of those are great ways.
Mhm.
And it comes down to facility a lot of times and teacher time. So what I will say is if you are the champion, it doesn't mean you have to be the only one to do the work. So you don't have to be the runner of enrichment. You don't have to be the one to coach the field hockey program. It means being the champion, the leader, to gather the team who can be the ones who deliver or support your efforts. And back to the Colleen, your point. We as adults need to move a lot of times. So we go to a full day professional development, and after an hour, we're starting to lose our focus. So we need to get up and we move our seats, or we stand in the back of the room or whatnot. So we can't expect students to be the robots who just sit in their seat all day if we as adults can't do it. So sometimes that's the best case scenario is seeing it in ourselves and realizing like, wow, like that is a long time, whatever it was that they were expected to sit, part of the keynote or whatever it is, without getting up and move, which again is why I tried to practice what I preach a little bit and through those two brief little movement breaks within this session.
I like what you were saying too about, we don't have to be the providers for all of this. Sometimes it is as much about sharing the information and the things that are happening in the community as it is, making sure that it's just happening at school. I think that when we look outside to our community, there are a lot of places and opportunities for kids to be active. It doesn't always have to come from the PE teacher.
No, you're right, Kathy. And I also think you have to have the classroom teachers buy in. I know when I was teaching, the elementary PE teachers gave an in-service to all the school district. The third grade especially came in, and they loved the energizers, and they took it and ran with it. So in fact, we put one of the third grade teachers and myself put on one of those, you said, the school meetings, and got the whole school knowing what we were doing in the third grade. In fact, they came back for another session. I said, it's the exact same thing, but they said, this is the best in-service we've ever had, the most fun. So I think we have to step up too, to get outside of our gym and make sure that they see us as educators.
Yes, love that.
Sandra says she has a PE club after school once a weekend. Hopefully they'll get back next year. COVID has put a hold on everything.
And so what I hope is that things that were put on hold don't stay on hold forever, which could be two things. One is they get forgotten about, or two is we realize that life is easier when we cut back, which beats back to my point before, is it doesn't have to be just you. So if you were the one who was doing like a P club and it was every day after school and you were getting burnt out, and then COVID hit and you realize, wow, like I have so much less stress or more time in my day when I'm not stuck here, then that would be a time to get creative or think creatively. So maybe instead of 5 days, you go down to 1 day, or instead of one person, you find 5 people and each take a day. But it's not letting things slide just because they did for the last year or two.
Exactly.
I think, sorry, Nick, just jumping in here. I teach at the middle and the high school, and just an example yesterday was, you have that dreadful RICAS testing, which is standardized testing, which, I mean, is a part of just the school process anyway. And when the 6th graders were done, we get them at the end of the day for specials. So there's 4 teachers in the one cluster that I teach, and 2 of the teachers brought their kids out for about 30 minutes of unstructured, just fun time. And the other 2 teachers had their kids in the classroom. One teacher had the kids doing essays after the tests, and just because it was stuff that had to be done. And even when they came into the health classroom, you could literally, if they didn't tell me who was outside and who was inside for that period, you could tell right away, like the kids who went outside were focused. They were, their energy was already used up, so they were kind of just ready to go. And the ones that didn't go outside had no energy. They were kind of just staring at a computer from time to time and just not into the lesson at all, and more just wanted to go out. So it does show time and time again that when they have that opportunity, and when it's unstructured, sometimes I think, nowadays we focus too much on everything having to be structured. If parents drive by, like, why are my kids outside right now? But we forget that piece of, conflict resolution, just letting the kids go out, play, and, when they get into conflicts, are they able to overcome it without a teacher having to step in? I think that if kids forget how to do that, then they become adults who don't know how to, have discussions and talk with other people. So,
Amen. Totally. And just to reiterate back to the point, because you said you were secondary, and I know a lot of other teachers that are on this call or might listen to this chat later are secondary. Active schools is the tools and resources and the framework. Everything is going to be K-12 or pre-K-12. So don't think that it's just elementary focus. I just wanted to reiterate that again, and then to emphasize what you said. We see it firsthand, and that's where we need to do everything we can, like Colleen said, or Joanne said, to get a seat at the table, to be the advocate, to help share that, or to collect the data, however it is that we do, so that other people see, because you were the one teacher within the room at the time who experienced that. But then how do we get the parents or the other teachers, the colleagues, or the classroom teachers, whoever they were, to then recognize and appreciate that unique experience where simple opportunity for unstructured time had such a positive difference. John, you got something for us? See you unmuted.
Batista? Oh, no.
Nope.
No.
No, he just wants to say hey.
Hey.
Well, Nick, that was excellent. Thank you. I look forward to seeing how this unravels and what it becomes. It looks like great resources. I know you put your link in the chat. Do we have it also to send out to all of the participants?
Yep. So there it is, right there again. I can drop it into the chat, but it is NAHPL 511. So today's date, if you're watching this live. So bit.ly/NAHPL 511, all one word, all in capital. And that brings you to the presentation. So you don't need to memorize my email, because you get into the presentation and then boom, you just click that hyperlink. And if you have a question at some point, feel free to reach out. And if you're on social media or whatnot, my contact is @PTop5. So thank you for the opportunity. I enjoyed this, and hopefully look forward to continuing the discussion, the dialogue, and whatnot with some of you.
Yeah, it's good seeing you,
Can't wait
Nick.
to do it in person.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Lauren. I've heard that a few times, so hopefully I didn't make a fool of myself in too many of those videos for open.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Mike, what's happening?
How are you? Good to see you. My last session, I should have said hello then, but just good to see you.
All good. Yeah.